All right, class, before we start our last lesson for the day, we're going to review some of the phonograms that are a little bit trickier. So I'll say the sound, you'll write it, say it while you write it, then you'll tell me the sound you wrote and I'll put it up here. It's a way for you of checking your work to see if you know that. If I say the phonogram and you're thinking, oh, I'm not quite sure, then that means that's something to keep working on because we want to have it so as soon as we hear the sound, we say, aha, I know what that is. All right, so get out your paper and pencil. And remember, I'm only going to leave a clock space if it's a two-letter phonogram, 2 or more letters. If it's just one letter, remember they go all close to each other next to the last one, and that means that'll help us write our letters correctly. All right, the first phonogram I want you to write is k, s. What are you going to write? Good, k, s. Say it while you write it. All right, now tell me, what did you just write? Good, k, s. So that starts over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock, around to 4 and up, k, s. All right, the next one I want you to write is kwa. What are you going to write? Good, kwa. All right, write it and say it while you write it. Class, can we say with just one letter? You are right, we can't. We need to have that other letter with it to say the first one. So I'm going to leave a clock space. Now I'm going to go over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock, because the first letter of my kwa is a clock stroke letter. This one's funny. Remember, I curve backwards on the clock. Usually we go towards the margin. And then the next letter in that phonogram is close but not touching. And what do I need to do to show that these go together to make one sound? Excellent. I need to underline. All right. The next phonogram is ah, o, oo. What are you going to write? Good. Ah, o, oo. Say the sounds while you write it. Right, and when we're finished, remember we put our pencil down. All right, so since this is 2 letters, I'm going to leave a clock space after it. And then I'm going to write my ah, o, oo. Notice I always say it while I write it. Okay. The next one I want you to write is d. What are you going to write? Good, d. All right, go ahead and write it. All right, now class, what kind of a letter is D? Good, it is a clock stroke letter. So where does it need to start? Excellent, over a space just below the dotted line, touch 2 on the clock. All right, that way we're never gonna get it mixed up with B. I think I told you when I was younger, I used to get D and B mixed up because nobody taught me the starting spots. But now that I know the starting spots, I know I'm never ever going to make that mistake again. All right, so make sure you're using those starting spots to help you out. All right, the next phonogram is Z. What are you going to write? Good, Z. All right. The reason I wanted us to practice this one is some of us are writing it backwards, and that's fine, but if we get our starting spots right, then we're never going to do that. So remember, all of my letters start close to my last letter or the margin if it's the very first one that you're writing, right? And my Z is a dash stroke letter, and it starts at the dotted line. But as long as I remember, I start close to my last letter, and I'm never going to get that one mixed up, and that is my Z. All right, so I better pause on this so we can get to the rest of our lesson. All right, so class, today we are going to talk about sentences. All right, so how do we write a word in English? What do we put together to make a word? All right, so you could say letters, but we kind of want to think of them more as phonograms, right? So it's not, as when we're spelling, we don't sit there and say every letter name, right? We say the sounds, all right? So letters, that's kind of true, but actually we use the sounds instead. So I think that's a little better. So we write English words by putting phonograms together, right? Now, can we put phonograms together in any order we want? If we're going to write a real English word, then we can't do that, right? Because I know a word has to have a vowel. So if I put together 5 consonants, that's not going to be a word. So we can't put together phonograms to make a word in just any order. We have to put them together in a specific way, following some rules, making sure we have a vowel, all of those kinds of things. All right, so that's how we write words. When we write a sentence in English, what do we put together to make a sentence? Right? We put words together to make a sentence. So we put our phonograms together to make words. We put our words together to make sentences. And just like we can't put phonograms together in any order that we want to and make a word, it's the same with sentences. We need to put our words together following the rules that we have, because words, just like phonograms in a sentence, have different jobs. Vowels and consonants do different things. It's the same with words in a sentence. We can't put them together just in any order. So we're going to talk about some of the different jobs of words in a sentence today. All right, so the first thing that we look for when we're writing our sentence is what happened. All right, for there to be a sentence, something has to happen in it. All right, so could I write a sentence that says the cat? That's not going to be a complete sentence because it's missing what's happening. There's nothing that's happening in it. So the word in our sentence that tells what's happening is called the predicate. Can you say predicate? Excellent, predicate. I'm going to write that up here. All right, so I put the spelling rules there, so if you've been at our school before, that would help you to read the word. It's a big word, predicate. Say it with me one more time, predicate. All right, and that is what happens in the sentence. The predicate, All right, so the predicate is what happens in the sentence. The predicate is a verb. Okay, so predicate is a bigger word to remember. It might help us if we know that the predicate is a verb. And a verb is an action word. You probably already knew that. So anything that you can do is a verb. So let's see if we can think of some predicates or verbs that could complete our sentence. Remember, the cat, that's not a complete sentence. But tell me a predicate that we could complete that sentence with. Okay, and we could say the cat purrs, the cat eats, the cat sleeps, the cat jumps. All of those, anything that can be done that is a verb, that could be the predicate of a sentence. So anything a cat could do, we could use to complete our sentence. The cat, blank, the cat runs. All right, so that's the first thing we need is we need something to happen in the sentence, and we call that our predicate. All right. The second thing that we need in a sentence is who or what is doing the action. All right, so in that sentence, let's come up with one sentence to use as we're going through this. So we'll say the cat purrs. All right, the cat purrs. So we have our predicate, which would be what? Right, it would be purrs. All right, and the second thing is who or what is doing the action. So in the sentence, the cat purrs, who or what is doing the action? Excellent, the cat. And so the cat, the who or what is doing the action, we call the subject. Right? Subject. Our subject is who or what is doing the action. And the kind of word that would be a subject is either a noun, well, it's usually a noun. For right now, let's just say that it's a noun because I don't know if you got to learn about the other part of speech that can be a subject yet. So for now, we'll say it's a noun, and then we can refine that a little bit when we get to pronouns. Okay, so we need to have a predicate, or what happens, and a subject, which is who or what is doing the action. Yes. So we would find the predicate by asking what's happening in the sentence, and then we would know purrs, and we find the subject by asking who or what is doing the action. So, and again, the subject for that sentence was cat. All right. Now there's three other things that we need to have for a complete sentence. So we need a subject, we need a predicate, or a predicate and a subject. The next thing we need is our sentence has to make sense. When we read it, let's see, if I made a sentence, purrs the cat, does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. If I wanted to write, the cat purrs, but I left out the word cat and it said the purrs, would that be a complete sentence? It wouldn't, because it doesn't make sense. All right, so the third part of our sentence is it always has to make sense. All right, so we have 3 of the 5 things we need for a complete sentence. The fourth thing that we need, every sentence has to start with a special kind of letter. Every sentence starts with a capital letter. So a capital letter, remember, you use one at the beginning of your name, your first name and your last name, because we always capitalize names, but we always start a sentence with a capital letter. We haven't reviewed our capital letters yet. I think we'll get to that this week, but anytime you're writing a sentence, you have to start it with a capital letter. So I'm going to write that up here. All right, so we have 4 things out of our 5, right? We need a predicate or a verb, a subject, usually a noun. It has to make sense, and it needs a capital letter. The last thing that we need is an end mark. So that is a kind of punctuation mark that lets us know that our sentence is over. All right, it can't be any kind of punctuation mark. It's an end mark, and there are 3 different kinds of end marks. If you know the name of an end mark, tell it to me. Okay, and if you know another one, tell me that one. And if you know the last one, tell me that. Okay, there's 3 kinds of end marks. The first one is a period, right? It's really small. It just looks like a little dot. It sits right on the baseline, and that says, hey, this sentence is over. All right, the next kind of end mark is an exclamation point, right? And that is if you are excited. If you say, my best friend's coming over, I would be excited about that. I would put that exclamation point at the end. And then the last kind of end mark that we can have is a question mark. Later this week, we'll talk about the 5 kinds of sentences, because there's times that you use each of these end marks. You can't just change them around. They go with a specific kind of sentence. But a question mark is when you're asking a question. If you say, are you hungry? That's a question. So our end mark that we would use for that would be a question mark. Okay, so there are 5 parts of a complete sentence. I have 5 fingers on my hand, so I like to use my hand to help me check my sentences. So anytime we ever write a sentence in our class, we're not going to just write it and put down our pencil and say that we're finished. We write it and then we go back and we check using our hand, do I have all 5 of the things that I need for a complete sentence? Because oftentimes if we don't check, we'll leave something out, but we won't realize it. So we always go back and check. So anytime I've written a sentence, I'm going to say, does it have a predicate? Does it have a subject? Does it make sense? Does it start with a capital letter? And does it end with an end mark? All right, so we're going to practice that. I am going to give you a sentence to write. It is not a long sentence. It's not complicated. After you write it, I need you to put your pencil down and use your hand and check and make sure you have all 5 things. All right. The sentence is, the cat ran. That one's not too tricky. The cat ran. So before you start writing, I promise this video is almost over. When we're practicing writing a sentence that I give you, I'll say the sentence once or twice. To help you remember it, I want you to make a picture of it. So I would make a picture of a cat running, and that's going to help me remember. All right. The cat ran. Okay, now you can pick up your pencil, write that sentence. After you've finished it, I want you to use your hand and check. Make sure you have all those things. So go ahead and pause the video, write your sentence, and then check it. All right, now, if you're watching this, you should already have your sentence written. All right, so I wrote it. Now I'm going to check it. All right, so the first thing I'm going to look for is my predicate. Does something happen? Oh, ran. Excellent. And that's a verb, so I know that's my predicate. Who or what is the sentence about? That's my subject, the cat. All right. So I have a subject. Does it make sense? I'm going to read it. The cat ran. Yes, that makes sense. All right. Does it start with a capital letter? It does. And does it end with an end mark? It does. All right. So now, only now, when I've checked it using my hand, and I know that I've got all 5 things, only now would I be able to say, I'm finished with my sentence. All right. And it may not seem important to you now because it's only 3 words, but we're going to start writing longer and more complicated sentences, and we always need to go back and check. All right. That shows the virtue of diligence. That means we're being careful and doing our best. We're not just trying to rush and get done and thinking, oh, well, maybe it's not right, but maybe it is. Nope, we always check and make sure that our work is right. All right, excellent job today, class. I'm proud of your hard work. Keep it up, and I'll see you tomorrow.